Hello and welcome to another 90-day Fiance Happily Ever After recap chat. This one is the lovely Duckling. All right, so Rob and Sophie do therapy, and Sophie is looking for one of those love languages, the words of affirmation. They haven't been intimate, and because of his online cheating and the type of women that he appears to gravitate to, he feels very defensive. Sophie is intimidated by these women that she calls more bodybuilder type women. He's offended by that, saying, no, they're just more have fitness type bodies. He doesn't want to seem like some guy that has a fetish with certain type of women. He's really defensive, and I think he really cares a lot about what the therapist may think, and probably, of course, what the world may think, since they're being taped for 90 Day Fiance. So he's very defensive on that front. The therapist kind of gets him to calm down and say, let's hear him out on how he feels, as far as, don't shame him for what he wants in the bedroom. So he wants her to dress up, and she really wants more words of affirmation. So they're going to try to work on that as they move forward. But yeah, Rob was being, to me, a little childish, a little too defensive. Just kind of, another reason why I feel like some people of color don't like therapy, because again, they don't want to be judged. And I think the therapist got that right, that he didn't want to be judged on what was said. And, Sophie brought up the cheating, and he felt like she shouldn't have done that. But, you have to, when you're in therapy, you have to air out all of your grievances and issues. And the therapist said, they just need to be more open with their communication and open up to each other and trust each other. And yeah, I feel like in the early stages of dating, yes, you try to put on this perfect face, but this deep into their relationship, 3 years, and now they're married. And of course, they didn't have the traditional courtship because they were in different countries and they had to see each other a lot less often. So it's going to be a transition, and a transition in their personalities and the way that they act and feel. And being a spouse to someone is very different than just dating and even having a long-term relationship. So they're learning that. Again, they're still young. They're still new to this marriage thing. So I wish them the best, and I hope that more people can see, going to therapy can be therapeutic and helpful for you, and you don't have to be shamed. And of course, you hopefully don't have cameras going in with you, so you should be able to be open enough with your spouse. And again, there's a third party there, which can feel different, but I think it's helpful if you need to open up to your spouse and do more. Like, I think they solidified their new arrangement of what they're going to do for each other with a hug and a kiss. And it may feel a little bit weird for the therapist, but I think they're on the right track, and I'm sure they'll get used to her as time goes on. But I think she really did help them, and hopefully moving forward, things will get better for them. I want to go to Manuel and Ashley. They're on the outs again because he's going out, not telling her. Then he wanted the card that had the money on it, and she wouldn't give it to him. And so their friend, I think his name is Jonathan, he's really cool with Manuel, but I guess they're both friends. He kind of tries to reconnect them and say, okay, you guys need to apologize and work on these issues. Her main issue is that he's not communicative, and he kind of goes out and does what he wants without telling her. And he feels like he's kind of being smothered, and he has to answer to her, and she's like his boss or whatnot. So they're kind of on two different extremes. She's really hurt and upset that he's it seems to her like he's kind of pushing her away and, trying to go hang out and not really have her around, while they're actually, I think, in Rochester, New York visiting. So that was her issue. To me, I feel like Manuel kind of lacks some real masculinity because I feel like he has that macho, stereotypical thought that this is how men are. You don't let the woman control you or run you. You do what you want. But in a real relationship, a man needs to know when to be strong and stand up, but he needs to know when to be also gentle to the woman that he's with and to be caring and concerned and considerate of her feelings. And it's a balance that a man has to have to be both and not just one, which is could be overly or hyper masculine. So that's something he needs to work on. As Ashley was getting tired of, the the fighting and how he was not willing to apologize. The friend wanted her to apologize as well, but she said she didn't feel that she should apologize because he's the one that should have communicated what was going on. And she was just really upset, saying, she's gone through some things in the past and she just didn't like what was happening at that moment. And I feel like he really should have comforted her. He should have come at her in a different way instead of just, it was kind of like a joke, but it was also kind of like he was just trying to keep that hard, manly exterior and also trying to say that she was the one that was wrong in the situation. And I think Dr. Phil says this. He said, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? So sometimes it takes a man to, not to say, okay, she's right and appease everything, but to kind of be more sensitive to her, let her get her grievances out and say, okay, we're going to work this out, versus just trying to stand strong on what you think is right and just being right at the end of the day. So that's an issue. So she's like tired of fighting and she's like, I'm done with this. And she walks away. And instead of her husband running after her, the friend Jonathan runs after her and says, he's trying to get her to talk to him and make things right. But she's continuing to tell Jonathan her issues. And he's on the side like he doesn't think either of them are right. They both need to apologize and work on what they need to do. And maybe apologies are needed on some level, but both of them are a little stubborn. And one person has to fold. Honestly, in this case, I do think it's Manuel. I don't think the friend should be chasing her, but he should be chasing her and he should be trying to make things right. And that's what you do in a relationship. If you really love and want someone, you're going to try to work on the situation and you're not going to be ashamed to go after what you want or who you want or your spouse or the person that you love. So it's no shame in either saying I'm wrong or just saying, I'll follow you to the ends of the earth. I'll chase you down. I'll try to make this right. And by saying that doesn't mean that you're saying I'm wrong. That just means we're going to try to figure this out together, because that's what marriage is supposed to be, a partnership. So I hope at some point things get better between them. They're going back to the hotel now and he's still on that mode where, calling her his boss and all of this. And at the point when he's able to work and make the money, maybe that's an issue too, because he can't work at this time, because I think the visa process has to finalize or whatnot. I think you have to be there so many years and all these different things. I don't know 100% all of the details, but at this time he can't work. So everything is kind of in her hands. He has to go to her for money and all of that. And I know that can probably feel a little bit like you're going back to childhood or something like that. And for some men, maybe emasculating. But this is the situation that you're in. If you are a real man, you're going to be a real man in all situations. Money or not, finances doesn't make you a man. Who's in charge of this and that doesn't make you a man. If you're a real man, you're always going to be a real man in all situations. We all go through different times in our life where we may struggle. That won't take away your manhood. And for the same thing with women, that won't take away your womanhood. If there's certain things that you are struggling with that you're not used to, that's not going to take it away either. So again, it's also about being sure and knowing who you are. Again, something that I think Rob and Sophie need to work on. You have to kind of be sure of who you are, know who you are in all circumstances. And again, it's life. So it's going to take time, and age doesn't really qualify completely either. Sometimes we're in new scenarios that we've never been in, and it challenges us, and we realize, okay, this is a deficit, this is the issue with me, and this is something that I need to work on and I need to change. And hopefully that's what these couples discover on this episode of The Lovely Duckling. All right, Ed and Liz, they finally get to meet. He wanted to meet her at a bar, but she wasn't able to do that, so they met at a coffee shop. They just basically finalized the fact that they are breaking up. She cried and didn't want to let go of the relationship. He said, I'm always going to be a jerk, basically, at the end of the day. And that's what I'm always going to be. He said, he fell out of love with her. She felt like she sacrificed 3 years of her life, and she stuck it out with him. She feels like he became a better person in this process, and she put in all this work just for him to leave and possibly be with someone else, and she couldn't imagine him being with someone else. And I think he says he fell out of love with her, and he kind of wants to let things go. And I think you should believe a person when they tell you something. I mean, he's been telling her with his actions that he's a jerk. He finally spoke the words. His attitude makes him appear that he wants to be completely done with her. So I wouldn't drag it out any farther, Liz. I know they both said they were in bad marriages previously, and he didn't want to continue that cycle. But at the end of the day, Liz, I hope that you see your value and worth is much greater. And I know that you have a lot tied up and invested, and for him to almost last minute cancel you guys' wedding, that was huge. And I understand the heartbreak that can come with that on some level. I've never been to that far end of being canceled on last minute, but I was in a failed engagement. I was in a relationship where promises were made and they were kind of taken back quickly. So I understand, like, putting and investing, at least investing your heart in something for a period of time. It wasn't as long as 3 years, but it was in the years. One was getting to a year and the other was over a year. But to invest your heart into someone and invest your future, it's a lot. And when you find out who the person really is, they've been showing you with their actions. They showed me with their actions, but you know how you don't want to see that. And he was appearing to put the work in. They were on the Last Resort spinoff of 90 Days, so it looked like he was doing some things. Sometimes people do that just to kind of hold on to you, but they really don't know what to do with you. He said he just wants to be single and work on his career. So he just kind of dropped everything. I think it was a bold move, but I think she is better off. And it is better that they didn't go down the aisle than for the marriage to end. But it can feel kind of embarrassing, definitely on her end as a woman. I'm just thinking, I've told my family, my friends, I've built this whole thing up. She even got her dress. For her to have wanted this probably for a long time, a good real relationship, a good marriage after birth, and to have to say he's the one, that ended it, he's the one that canceled the wedding, it can really do a big number on your self-esteem, especially as a woman. Of course, I know as a man as well, but as a woman, especially coming from a failed marriage previously, it feels like, am I the problem? Am I the issue? I mean, it can feel that way. And she's the one that's in tears. She's the one that's taking it the hardest. So I hope the best for Liz. I hope she moves on. I hope that we can follow her and see what's next. and maybe she can hang out with some of the girls of the single life and kind of start over. She might be a spin-off of that, who knows. um but all the best to her, and hopefully she can just close this chapter. And I really don't know if I want to see Big Ed again. um I've never really liked the guy, but I am wishing all the best for Liz. At the end of the day, sometimes I feel like Ed, this is his claim to fame, and he'll continue to try to stay in this franchise. But I mean, he could have stayed and still been with her, but I think that he kind of is a little bit ahead of himself, and that's why he calls himself Big Ed, because maybe he does have a big head in this scenario. And being like on 90 Day for such a long time, and maybe feeling like he's a star, he just feels like Liz maybe just holding him back from whatever his stardom, or is once someone is in that celebrity status, especially a man, all of the possibilities that they can have, all the new women that they can meet. So maybe this is in his head as well. Just speculation, but he showed us kind of the guy that he is. I don't really want to see him go further. If he does, I feel like any new relationship he gets into is just going to be another one of these, or just for him to play and have fun. He needs to be on the single life and just stay there, because by the way he's moving, it looks like he's going to be single by choice for a really long time. All right, so pageant Jasmine. Now Jasmine is getting into pageants. A friend signed her up for a workshop. It's boosting her confidence. Gino agrees. She tells him about her alopecia and all that. She kind of was able, in a way, it was kind of therapeutic, I would say. Other women were boosting her confidence, telling her some things that she can do to enhance her beauty and not to feel ashamed about that. And this is her first run doing pageants, and they're saying she's a natural. They're really trying to boost her up and want her to be a part of this. And there are times when I do see pageants and certain things like that where they want to recruit you and get you in, so they'll probably say a lot of things to you. But in this way, I still feel like it can be positive and a good boost for her in her confidence, whether it's something that they're doing so that they can add something big to their pageant or not. So later on, Gino saying, well, I like the pageant for you. It looks great, but if you're going to try to have a baby, then you might not be able to stay in the pageant. And then she confesses that she's really not trying to have a baby like that at this time. And I know, since everything happened with the fact that Gino didn't do the paperwork properly for her children to come to America as well, it's like going to be possibly a 2-year, maybe longer wait. That kind of soured her feelings on having a kid with him at the moment, because he didn't really have, it's appeared from what he did, even if it may not have been intentional, that he doesn't even have the wherewithal to support the kids that are already here in her life, that are her children. So how can he now make a new child with her and be a good father figure? So I think that's what she's thinking, partially in her head, which makes a lot of sense. And she's kind of turned off by trying to have a kid at this time. And when it comes to love and marriage, yeah, it's times when you may have to put your partner first. And seeing the situation, Gino, I really think he should kind of step back and, everything that the part he played where the kids can't come, and right now and all of this, he should, and her losing her hair and losing her confidence, he really needs to, just back her, I feel, on this pageant thing, and put the child thing on hold just for that time. I don't know how long the pageant runs for, but if he really tries to get behind her on this, I think that will make her grow closer. Even though things are getting better between them, she's kind of going through the process of forgiving him. He's doing more things to be supportive. but she's not all the way there yet, and she really needs a boost in herself. So hopefully this helps. And she's got all these plastic surgeries and things. She feels like she's not good enough. And I wish the best for her because, after all those surgeries and whatnot, speaking of surgery, we're going to go to Lauren and Alexi. But like after all those surgeries, that you would think that should be good enough boost, but she's going through a lot. Her mom is battling cancer. She can't see her kids. She's losing her hair. She's probably losing her confidence in a lot of different ways. So I know that's probably adding to the situation. But I wish Jasmine the best. I get tired of her whining often. Sometimes I feel like she's over dramatic for the show. At times she can be entertaining, but at times she can be annoying. I can see how Gino may feel living with her day in and day out. I couldn't imagine. But I wish Jasmine the best. Honestly, I do. And both of them really, but I think that Gino has to kind of step back and put her first at this time and in this moment. And I know he's kind of been doing that throughout the process, but seeing what's going on with her not being able to be around her kids, it's a big deal. And if she needs time, she needs confidence boost, definitely I feel he should be able to step back and support her. Before we get into the surgery again with Lauren and Alexi, Patrick and Thais, there wasn't much of them seen on this episode, but it's Thais' birthday. They were out, but he had to drop her off so that he could pick up John and spend the rest of the evening with him because I think he got a flight into her country so that they could celebrate the baby's birthday. But she's a little upset that he's going to spend the rest of his night with his brother, and she's not really fond of John. They're not really cool, but they're okay, but not okay kind of thing. So I understand her upset. At that moment, if my husband chose his brother over me, I would feel some kind of way. They are somewhat still newlyweds. She recently had a baby. They're still somewhat in the newlywed phase. The situation's a little different because they are in another country. He has to pick him up from the airport and all of this. So I kind of get that part. But I also get her feelings because if I was sitting there, I would probably feel some kind of way that my husband was going to be gone for the rest of the night with his brother versus being with me on the evening of my birthday. So I get it. I understand. It's a little contention in the family, but I think it's something that they are probably just going to continue to work through. I don't know if her and John are ever going to be great with each other. But let's move on to Lauren and Alexi. Lauren gets her mommy makeover surgery. It's affecting her arms, the tummy tuck, I think her neck area. She had like her head partially wrapped. And so the surgery went great. Her husband was really worried during the 6 hours. And he was hoping that she would change her mind. She didn't, so he's supporting her. They're going to get a room nearby for a couple of days. She's barely mobile, so he's going to have to do everything for her, help her go to the bathroom, help her with her food, because she can't really use the dexterity of her arms because that's a part of this surgery. So it's going to be a lot for him. He said he's helped her when she's had her C-sections, but this is going to be like a whole new can of worms for the next couple of days. She wakes up, she's really drowsy, still kind of high off of the drugs, the anesthesia. Being someone that's been through surgery that's not elective, but that I had to get, or different procedures I had to get as well, I do recall, when you're waking up from the smoke and mirrors and it can feel some type of way. Sometimes I don't know what I've said or done. I don't know if I'm as loopy as she was, but she was quite loopy. And I understand because I'm sure that she was really under because it was a lot that was done to her. And I feel like I saw blood on her sock, but he said the back of her was bloody, something he said. So it's like, just a lot. And I hope they can navigate this well. I hope she's happy with her surgery and heals well. She kept saying, I did it. She was proud of herself. Now, hopefully, this will be a good confidence boost for her. But hopefully, like Alexi said, hopefully it doesn't become a habit or something where she has to constantly change this and that. And we've heard, with women that the baby weight, I haven't had a child myself, but the baby weight and your body's just never going to be the same, even if you lose weight after you having a child. And she's had 3 back to back. So it's definitely done what it's done to her body. Though again, like her husband said, I don't see a huge issue, but she did, and she felt like it was something that she had to do. I would say if you're going to be to a point where you can't move around and people have to take you to the bathroom and stuff, to me, I feel like that's a little too much surgery, especially elective. If it's something which you had to get done for health purposes, I don't know if I would have opted in to do that and maybe do a piece here and a piece there, not do everything all at once may have been a better idea. But I know people don't want to keep going under the knife as well, so maybe she wanted to get it all done at once. Whatever the case, I hope her a great recovery. I hope this helps her and serves her well. And I do hope it doesn't become something that she has to be dependent on, because she did mention body dysmorphia. So hopefully she can get some therapy and that can help her sustain her from this point on. All right, so lastly, we're going to talk Kobe and Emily and the bride price. So in his customs in Cameroon, she has to make a traditional meal, kind of prove herself to the family, even though they've been married in America. In Cameroon, he has customs that they have to follow in order to solidify their marriage and see it as official there. So she has to make a Cameroon meal. And Kobe's sister comes to kind of assist her with all, and they're looking at the food. It's odd. It's touching it, smelling it, saying, "Oh, this is different," and they're just kind of marveling at how different the food is. And but Emily's like, she's up for the challenge. She's going to try to prove herself to these people. Not to say like these people, but she's trying to prove herself to her husband's family. She seems like she has a heart for them. She just has really the issue with the friends that won't accept her, the male friends, and they don't like her role that she plays as an American wife to the Cameroonian man. Emily's mom has an issue with the bride price. It's just a custom where they have to give certain goods in return, like kind of in trade for her as the bride. So his family has to give certain items to her family in order to make this trade and add her to the family. Emily's mom feels like it's being paid for her child, like she's getting money to like sell her child off to this family. And I think she's really kind of making it a little bit too deep. This is their custom. She feels like it's something else. In America, maybe it would be considered that, but she's not in America. Nobody's really on her side, and Emily's just, determined to prove her value to this family and to be a part of this family. And to me, on some level, I agree with her that it's just customs and, just follow the customs. It's not a big deal. And another part of me is like, do you really have to go through all this, or should you have to go through all this to prove yourself to be accepted into someone's family as a man or as a woman? How many hoops do you have to jump in order to be accepted by the family? They're already married. Nothing can really stop that. Only his family customs would, determine, hey, we don't approve of you, which can be a big deal. And it's important for her to be a part of the family. But again, they're already married and they have kids. So should you, or is it something that you should have to do to prove yourself? And how far would you go to prove yourself? To me, I don't think these things that they having them do It's that huge. It's a little bit out of the ordinary for probably American to go to the market and get these different types of foods, different types of meats and things they're not used to using. But and then the bride price, where they're actually going to receive some items, like I think some may be livestock, some might be other items in return for her being a part of the family. It just makes me think of when the usually the bride's family pays for the wedding. It makes me kind of think like that, except for this instance, it's like um the groom's family kind of what they call is a dowry in order for her to be a part of the family, which I think they did that back in, I can't tell you exactly what times, but back in maybe like the Roman era or something like that, where they did give certain amount of money or a certain price for the bride. And it does seem more transactional. It does seem more like this is a business transaction, and that's kind of how they did do things back then. But I think it means something different for them today, and for this particular situation, it means something different. But yet and still, to me, I don't think those are really huge sacrifices to make to be a part of this family. But then Emily's mom was like, well, what's going to happen if we don't do it? And she says it's going to be like a curse on your family. And then, so that's the part that I really didn't like, is that, if you don't follow these customs, it could be a curse on the family. And, that's like, to me, could be some level of superstition or some level of, it's just kind of goes against what I would believe to be. I do believe that curses can be real, but for something as simple as a dowry or making a certain meal, if that can curse your family, then what if something huge happens? I mean, I could see if it was maybe something greater that could cause a curse. I mean, we've all heard of family curses, generational curses, and things done in families that were so horrendous that it could cause a curse on the whole family. That makes more sense to me than, okay, if I don't have a wedding in this certain location, if I don't make this type of meal, if I don't trade these certain goods, then my family will be cursed. It challenges my belief system. It's something that I would probably not be in favor of, and I don't know. It makes me also wonder what is their belief system and background when it comes to their faith. Again, faith is really important to me. For some people that don't have a strong religious background, it doesn't matter. They'll just go with whatever flow their spouse is doing or whatever. But that's probably the only thing that I would be against, is the fact that, if I don't do this, then I'm going to be cursed. And I just don't believe in that type of scenario. From my faith standpoint and the background I came from, I don't know if I could vibe with that. But I know if two people are in love, they want to make things work, there are certain things that you do and have done to make things work, to compromise while still holding your own belief system. Maybe pray over the matter of the situation as well. Just ask God to lead you on that, because I do know people have made compromises when it comes to that. And as long as you guys respect each other's belief systems, then people have been able to make it work. I don't know if I could, and I know in my faith it's suggested that you have the same belief system and not another one, or two different belief systems within the family, just because one can overtake the other one can cause the other to convert. So it's usually thought to, okay, you guys should be on the same page in your belief system. If one of them converts, I guess that is okay as well. But you guys ultimately have to be on the same page when it comes to your belief systems. And really, I don't know where that part comes from, because it does make me think of bridal superstitions as well. Like, You have to have something burl or something blue, or all those little wedding traditions that people say don't see the bride before the wedding, all of those things where people can say that can curse your marriage, which I think we take it a little bit lighter here than what they do in their country and the customs that they have. So I guess it all could be kind of taken with a grain of salt on some level. I would like to know more about what his family and their belief system is when it comes to that. Is this a part of their belief system all the way around, or is this just because of wedding proceedings that it only affects that? But it seems like that would affect their whole life if they don't do it properly and they don't follow each little step. Other than that, I'm hoping that Emily and Kobe have their happily ever after. I really doubt that the friends are going to totally accept. I mean, nobody's going to totally accept you, but if you do the best that you can to show yourself to be, a good partner, and she's trying to follow within his traditions. Of course, she could say, I'm a good partner in America. You don't have to do these things in America to be a good partner. But I like the fact she's trying to respect his culture, and I think it's nice that she feels that way and she's trying to do that. But again, I feel like no one's gonna 100%. There's gonna be a hater. There's gonna be somebody that you just don't get along with. It's never gonna be 100%. And sometimes I have seen some families where it does seem like everybody's good, but there's gonna be somebody or some issue or something. If it's in the beginning, it can be worked out. But you can't please everybody at the end of the day. It's between you guys. If you guys make each other happy, then that's all that you can really do. So this ran a little bit long this time. There was a lot of scenarios to talk about this time. But thanks guys for listening. For if you have any thoughts, questions, comments, you guys can always email me at cbiztv@yahoo.com. This is Irene with Faith, Love, and Trends. We'll talk more 90 Day. We'll talk more Faith, Love, and Trends coming soon on CBiz Media. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support, and talk to you later.